Welcome everybody, this is SharePoint Patterns and Practices webcast, and this time we're going to talk about something super exciting. So we're going to talk about what are the customization options with SharePoint Online modern experiences. And with the modern experiences, we mean the modern theme sites, modern lists and libraries, and the modern pages which are available within the SharePoint Online. And you need to be aware of the, let's say, the existing or current capabilities, how to customize those things if you have customization requirements. One thing what I want to note before we actually start and even do the introduction, so the recording of this webcast has been done on December 2016. We will add additional capabilities and the customization options to all of these modern experiences gradually gradually on a monthly basis and so on. So whenever you're watching this video, if you're watching this, for example, in summer 2017, the situation could be completely different. So please go through the MSDN guidance, which is also available around the modern experience customizations. We will keep on updating that one as we go through. Now, my name is Esa Juvonen. I'm a senior program manager from the SharePoint engineering side, and with me today is Bert Jansen. Bert, will you do the intros?
Yes, Esa. So hello everyone. My name is Bert Jansen. I'm a service engineer also in the SharePoint team and ready to give you some great information around the modern experiences.
Absolutely. This is awesome stuff.
Yes.
Well, I would say that obviously awesome is a relative statement, but the key point is to understand what are the customization options for time being and where we're heading from a customization perspective as well. Before we go to the actual content, just quickly explaining, SharePoint Patterns and Practices is a engineering-driven initiative, which is work where we work together with community MVPs and non-MVPs to provide code samples, guidance documentation, community calls, case studies, and our themes are within the SharePoint framework, SharePoint adding model, Microsoft Graph and Office 365 APIs. A lot of this guidance actually applies to SharePoint Online and on-premises as well. SharePoint Framework, when we are recording this webcast, is not available yet in the on-premises, but it's going to land in the on-premises in the calendar year of 2017, and that's currently the plan. AKMS SharePoint PnP is the address to remember, where you can find a lot of webcasts, code samples, and additional assets as well. But let's actually jump into the topic of today, and really the key topic what we wanted to cover is concentration on the fact that there's a lot of people and a lot of customers who have existing customizations within the SharePoint Online on the classic experience, so in the classic theme sites or in the classic lists and libraries. So how would I actually make them work in the modern experiences, or which of them will work within the modern experiences? So we're going to walk through today in the webcast the current, let's say, situation around the customization. And mentioned already, this is evolving, so we are gradually introducing additional capabilities and additional support for the modern experiences as well.
Hey, Tessa, quick question. So what if those modern experiences are great, but what if I don't want today already make the jump? So do I have options to actually control the behavior of the modern experiences? Can I essentially turn them off or not?
Absolutely. So that's a good topic to actually start as well in the intro. So all of the stuff what we're going through today, you can control when the modern experiences are taking into a use within your tenant, in a tenant level or in a site level or in a list level or / library level. So we're not taking the classic experience away from a SharePoint Online. That's not going to go away, and the modern experiences are there, but there are certain, let's say, differences from a support perspective, from a customization support perspective. So it's up to you to make the decision when the modern experiences, in quotes, is mature enough for you to take into a use if you have customization requirements. Now, if you don't have a customization requirements, the modern experiences, no doubt, is faster, it's fluent, it's responsive. There's a lot of additional benefits out of the modern sites as well. So the topic of today is around the fact that you build customization, you have a business requirements, you need to enable those within a SharePoint Online. And like mentioned, you can control when you start taking the modern experiences into use. Good. So one of the things, just to kind of a pinpoint, we do have an existing MSDN guidance available around the modern experiences and the customization of the modern experiences as well. So right now, when we're recording this one, there's 5 articles in MSDN around this. So what is supported? We provide code samples, PowerShell samples, how to control this. We also pinpoint this tenant level and a site and a list level settings, how to enable or disable the modern experiences as well. And these will be gradually updated whenever new capabilities are introduced. So you can actually follow up on these articles whenever you are looking into the current status of a customization options within the modern experiences. Now, let's actually concentrate on the existing status or the current status of the modern experiences. Mentioned already quite a few times in the initial slides. We have now released the initial version of the modern experiences, but this is not the full story. We are adding additional capabilities, additional things available to the modern list sites and pages. So only the initial version is now out. There are some limitations around, for example, the classic customization scenarios. I would like to have a widget in the top right corner. I would like to have a custom branding, and we're going to walk them through today as well. A lot of this stuff will be evolving. So please follow up on the support and follow up on the articles. We will be updating them gradually as well. Really, the key point to kind of consider is that evaluate what you have currently within your customizations and move when the functional and business requirements can be achieved. It might be that your functional and business requirements can be achieved actually using the modern capabilities, because there's a lot of additional capabilities within the modern experiences. So the modern sites and the modern canvas and the modern web parts are available within the modern site. So it might be that whatever the add-in web part you have can be actually achieved using out-of-the-box capabilities. So you don't have to use those customizations anymore within the modern sites. But really the key point, if you have a significant amount of customizations, to understand what you have, what is the functional and business requirements for them, and then evaluate the existing status of the modern experiences. So can you take them into use? And if you can't, just disable the modern experiences or control where to take the modern experiences into use. Good. So, like mentioned, this is absolutely a great time and great opportunity to review your existing customizations. So, the modern experiences have numerous additional capabilities, additional benefits, additional functionalities, additional web parts, which you can actually use as such natively within SharePoint Online. And that's really why we're introducing the modern experiences as well. One of the, let's say, most classic scenario from within the SharePoint Online is that, hey, SharePoint isn't responsive. Guess what? Modern experiences are fully responsive from a page perspective, list libraries, and a site perspective as well. So they actually scale based on a device, which is natively, you don't have to do anything, based on a device which is accessing the site. So you don't have to have a more, let's say, a responsive customization applied to a site like you had to do previously. That's a good example of a customization which you can then drop as a requirement for the future, and you don't have to maintain that as well. And really, within the customization perspective, kind of evaluate individual things, what you have. Is it actually even used? Because many times what we're seeing when people are moving, even within the classic scenarios, moving from farm solutions to the add-ins, and now with add-in solutions to the SharePoint framework or forward, they might actually have individual capabilities as a customization, but nobody's using them. So it would be really, really wise to do an analysis of the existing capabilities and really think through, is this truly needed? Is this customization something what we want to maintain? Because whenever you have a customization which you're maintaining, that is increasing the costs of your deployment as well. Good. So let's start with a site, a modern site and modern list creation. So whenever we create, or if we want to create a modern site, we actually are creating an Office 365 group. So Office 365 groups have a modern theme site associated to them by default. So you can actually go, you can go to an Office 365, you can create an new Office 365 group, and there's actually a Sites tab nowadays within the UI if you go there using the Outlook UI. Or if you create a new modern theme site using the create functionality in the SharePoint landing page, you will actually get an Office 365 group, but you will land into the modern theme site. So there's numerous, let's say, routes, in quotes, how these Office 365 groups are created. But every single Office 365 group has also a modern theme site associated to it. Or vice versa, every single modern theme site has Office 365 group associated to it as well. You can provision these modern theme sites programmatically. So what you need to do is hit the groups endpoint in a Microsoft Graph to create a new group. And this is slightly evolving the following statement on a slide. So accessing the files collection in the groups endpoint to start the modern theme site provisioning. That should be combined to the groups creation. But initially, when we created a modern group using this Microsoft Graph endpoint, you would have to access the files collection once to get the modern theme site to be created as well. One thing,
if you're using the PnP components like PnP PowerShell or PnP core component, you don't really have to worry about the two different steps. So we've kind of encapsulated both steps in easy to use PowerShell commandlet or easy to use extension method for you. So essentially you have to run one line of code to create your modern theme site programmatically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing to call out on the creation right now, currently, you have to use an user context to access the groups endpoint. And this is really a limitation in the groups endpoint in Microsoft Graph. It does not support app-only execution or app-only support. It doesn't have the app-only support, which no doubt is a limitation which we need to be aware, because if you do have a, let's say, backend process which is progressing requests in an asynchronous way, you will need to then use an access token, a user-based access token, to get stuff done. We are targeting to address this gap, and the additional support for the app only is hopefully coming relatively soon, which is always a relative statement. So what does it actually mean?
Well, soon. Sometimes.
Yes. Hopefully.
Well, there is also a slight kind of a performance workaround a little bit. So meaning if you have an access token, you can also work with a refresh token, and you can automatically refresh your access token up to 90 days. So you can grab once an access token for a particular user and then kind of keep refreshing that one until it's end of life. So it buys you some time, but it's not the final solution that we need.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. Now, and one thing to be kind of aware, and we kind of pinpoint that one already within this introduction slide. We will go through these limitations more detailed in the upcoming slides as well. But these modern theme sites have the no script capability enabled, or the scripting has been disabled. It depends on a terminology what we want to use for the statement. But what it means is that there are customizations, in quotes, limitations in these sites. The no script, or the scripting being disabled, means that people cannot upload files, for example, which have a possibility to have custom scripts in them. You cannot use user custom actions and so on. All of these limitations are called out within the support article mentioned on a slide as well, and we put that one in the video notes as well, so you can easily access that. Obviously, all of these slides, links and everything else is mentioned also in the MSDN guidance. But let's actually have a look on the how do we provision these modern theme sites. And in this demo, we kind of use the BMP PowerShell because it's actually the most simplistic way of provisioning a modern theme site. But you can just as well use managed code, C# code, if you want to provision modern theme sites, or obviously you can manually create modern theme sites as well. But let's jump to a demo and let's come back on the slides after a while. Okay, so let's have a look on how do we create a modern team site within a SharePoint Online. So based on a tenant level setting, you can control the modern team site creation also from a UI perspective, or what will be shown for the end users whenever we start creating a site from a SharePoint capability within a SharePoint Online. If you enable the modern team sites, you will see this modern way of creating a new site, and that's then available, and this will actually create a site which is associated to an Office 365 group. I'm not going to actually do that right now, because let's create the site programmatically. In this case, we're going to use PowerShell, but you can absolutely use a managed code as well. The alternative routes for creating a Office 365 group with the modern team site is to go to your Outlook site and then click create in here, and you walk through the settings and you will actually get an Office 365 group, and then you go to the sites tab and you get to the actual modern team site. But we wanted to create this programmatically. So in the demo, we can now use the PowerShell to make that happen. So let me switch to my PowerShell. And this is the PowerShell. I'm going to actually slightly slide that one on the right. So let me squeeze that slightly so we can see the modern team sites to be created on the groups list on here. But let's walk through first what are we doing here. So we're using the BMP PowerShell. BMP PowerShell commandlets are available for you to install from a GitHub. We'll add the links obviously on the video recording as well. Like mentioned, you can use managed code as well in the BMP Sites Core component, which is released as a NuGet package. There's a simple method to do exactly the same operations as with the PowerShell. It's just so much easier to actually demonstrate this with PowerShell, so we're using the PowerShell commandlets for that. In my case, I already have some assets available within my location. So here's some of my scripts, and there's the logo which we're going to use, the BMP logo, and then in the later part of the demo, or in the second demo, we can also apply a custom theme to that existing site. But let's concentrate first on creation of that team site. Or a modern team site. And one thing what's really, really important to realize is that when you create a modern team site, it's actually super fast comparing to the classic site as well. So the modern team sites there is a significant changes on the way how we provision these sites within a SharePoint Online. So this happens relatively fast. So we can actually see that live happening. So we can actually see that the brilliant group to be listed on the left side relatively fast. Now, since we use the BMP PowerShell, I'm going to use the connect BMP Microsoft Graph, which is a commandlet for me to connect to the Microsoft Graph itself. So let's actually execute that. I'm going to sign in using my alternative account. So I'm going to sign in with the right account, which is associated to this particular tenant. So Office Dev BMP on Microsoft. And not going to say my password out loud. I've done that in some of the recordings accidentally as well. So signing in, and this is really for me the signing against the Azure AD. So, and I'm requesting in the PowerShell, I'm requesting the group read write all and user read all permissions.
So essentially, Vesa, we are using Azure AD Group APIs and not SharePoint APIs to
Correct.
do this.
Yes.
Work.
Yes, really important thing to realize. So we're using Azure AD Group's API to actually make this happen. If I want, I can actually see that I do have now an access token. So we can actually see the access token if I'm signed in properly. But for some reason, I'm not actually getting that. So let's do that one more time.
You need to just show it. Just show the variable.
Yeah. So that's for me being not prepared. There we go. Thank you, Bruce. That's why you are helping me with these demos. So there's the access token, which is now valid for a certain time frame. Now, we do have the new PnP Unified Group commandlet. Technically, the name Unified Group is an old term. It should be called Office 365 Group. But again, the commandlet itself is creating an Office 365 group to Office 365 using this access token, which is already saved within a PowerShell session. So what we do here is that we call the new BMP Unified Group, we give it a display name, we give it a description, and really important thing is the mail nickname. this will be actually the URL of the site as well. So it will be then the tenant name / site / the URL of the site, whatever we put as a mail and nickname. And then I can also associate additional members to that site or that group automatically. And I can define, is it a private, and I can also upload automatically a logo for that group. So we can actually associate the custom logo for the group as well. So let me execute that. One thing to kind of repeat once again, the previous step here is not actually needed. So as you can see, I did not paste or use the access token within this new PnP unified group commandlet. The access token is already taken care of by the commandlet itself because we executed the connect to PnP Microsoft Graph in the previous step. So if I now execute this one, it will actually start creation of the group itself, and now it seems to be that I have a small typo. So I have a logo JP key as the group logo path, and I'm getting an exception that the group logo file does not exist. So let's actually double check the name that it's actually fine. Logo JP key, and let's actually double check that it's correct. So let me do this. I'm going to copy the full path so we get this one working without investigating what did we do wrong. Good. So let's actually execute that one more time. And there we go, execution has started. And now if I close that one, we should see relatively fast on the left side when the brilliant group will be created. And it will have actually the logo associated to it as well. This one does take a while. Well, I wouldn't say it takes a while, but it doesn't take as long as a classic SharePoint site to get created. And it depends slightly on the environment. It depends slightly on the current load of the farm, which is hosting currently the Office 365 tenant. How long does it actually take? And mentioning on the PowerShell commandlets, these were originally released in the November 2016 release of BMP PowerShell, and together with the BMP CSM core component support. And we did do, and we're doing updates on these commandlets on a monthly basis. So you want to use always the latest version of the BMP PowerShell. We release the BMP stuff on every single first Friday or the following Monday of a month. Good. Now the new unified group has been created, and I did a small issue here. I didn't actually put myself as a member, so I'm not getting that group to be visible directly in the groups. But I can actually get the site URL of the group which was created using this variable now, because the PowerShell is giving me the group object, and I can actually execute or get the information around the group object, and we can see that there's a site URL already associated to it. So if I now take the site URL, just execute that one, we can see that we have a brilliant group. Let's copy that one and we'll open that one in the browser so we can actually see that it's available. And opening that in the browser, we can see that we have this group created, and it should have a custom logo associated to it. It does take a while to get that one processed on the site as well. So now if I go, for example, on the homepage, we can see that it's a modern theme site with the modern theme site capabilities, and everything is, well, the modern experience. As an example, it is fully responsive, and it's scaling based on the device size natively without any customizations for itself. Good. One thing to notice on this one is that now when we have the group created or a site created, and if we do want to modify, or if we do, for example, want to use the BMP PowerShell for the BMP provisioning engine to apply lists and libraries and content types to the site, we need to reconnect to the site using the Connect PnP Online. And that means that we are using the SharePoint Online connectivity against that site, which is now created within my tenant. So let's actually quickly do this. So it's going to ask me to sign in. Office Dev BNP on Microsoft. And my password. There we go, signing in. And let's double check that we have the right context. So let's execute that one. And in the context object, what do we actually have there? There we go. Oh, actually, let's cancel that. Let's get the web, and then let's make sure that we actually have the web object available. So we can actually see that we have the web object, which is a SharePoint client-side object model web object available, and then we're going to start operating with that one. Good example is that we want to double check what is the web template and configuration for the web. So let me do that. So I'm going to do an execution of this, and we can see that that particular site is not an STS #1 like the classic theme site is group #0, which is a modern theme site. Just to pinpoint, I'm not going to execute this. We do have in the BMP PowerShell also commandlets for getting all of the unified groups, or you can filter the unified groups or get information using the group ID or one particular group. You can also delete and set additional settings on these groups using the BMP PowerShell commandlets. But I think that's from a programmatic perspective, I think we covered what we were planning to do. Any pointers from your side, Bert?
No, not specifically. I think that is a pretty extensive support we have. We haven't shown all commandlets, so there's more around working with all 365 groups. So I would go check it out if you want to learn more of these.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent. Let's switch back on the slides and come back on the on these ones for a customization perspective. So back on the slides. Good. So let's concentrate then on what is actually supported with modern theme sites currently. And like mentioned, this is December 2016 status around the customization options. So we want to keep pinpoint this because many of these are kind of, let's say, classic customization scenarios within the SharePoint Online. So you would be aware what is the situation within the modern theme sites related on the classic scenario. So you don't run into surprises planning to take the modern theme sites into a use and then, oh, this isn't working, and so on. Now, on the branding side, you can apply a custom theme to a modern theme site. We're looking into having additional branding capabilities in the future, but we don't have any exact details right now announced, and we don't have an exact schedule for getting all of this stuff announced or publicly available. But we're looking into having, let's say, additional branding scenarios and layouts available within the modern theme sites as well. Because right now, there's no support for custom master pages or no support for custom page layout. So essentially, you're right now currently limited on a one canvas on a page, and you cannot actually switch that to be multi-canvas layout like within the classic themes.
So actually a single column where you can put content, but not multiple columns. So multiple web part, like we had web part zones, that kind of construct is not there yet.
Yes, exactly. The web part zone is probably the easiest way to explain a canvas as well. So right now it's a one canvas, it's a one column, it's a one web part zone, and a vertical web part zone. From a customization perspective, there's no support for front page modification right now. What we mean with this one is that you cannot actually go using APIs and modify what are the web parts, for example, in the front page of the modern theme sites, or what is the content and text within the front page of the site. That API, no doubt, is in the roadmap once again, but we don't have a public schedule or exact time when we will announce even the public schedule.
Ivesa, and what about actually adding pages? So I have this modern theme site, but I also want to programmatically add additional pages. Is that possible today or not?
Right now, we don't have an API for that one as well. So there's limited API capabilities for this. We're looking into addressing this relatively fast as well.
Okay. Soon.
Yes. No support for app-only creation. We mentioned this one already in the previous slides before the demo. You have to use a user token to create a modern Office 365 group, technically, and which will then create the modern team site as well. There's no support for user custom actions in JavaScript because of the no script or the scripting is disabled within the site. So the classic scenario where somebody is using a site.userCustomAction and associates a JavaScript there, which is then drawing, for example, let's say global navigation or header or footer, that scenario is currently not supported. You can do SharePoint Framework client-side web parts in the modern team sites, so you're able to use them. We do have a concept called code parts in the roadmap. We mentioned actually this one in the Atlanta or in the Ignite conference, but we don't have an exact schedule for that one either. It is coming at some point, and that will then enable more structural way of having a JavaScript embedded on the site for a certain scenarios. There's no support for layouts. Change is currently kind of mentioned already under the branding section, but called out here explicitly as well. And the subsite are currently still using classic template. So when you're creating a modern team site, if you create a subsite underneath the modern, the root site of the site collection, which is a modern team site, there's no modern subsite options available. So when you create it in a subsite, it is actually using a classic mode, which you can, however, customize to be like a modern team site. And we're going to talk about that one slightly later in the slides as well. Good. Now, we mentioned the no script, or the fact that when a site has scripting disabled, once again, it depends on the terminology what we are using. These are the let's say the high level things which are not available when the scripting is disabled on a site. And this actually applies on a classic theme sites as well, if there's no script setting is enabled. So Save site as a template not available, save document library as a template not available, solution gallery, theme gallery not available. You can apply a custom theme, like mentioned, but you cannot actually define a custom theme in the theme gallery. Help setting HTML field security, sandbox solution, SharePoint Designer, and uploading certain files which potentially could include a script. So these are not available within the site, this kind of a site. And then there are a certain set of web parts which are not available on the sites as well. Now, to be fair, if we concentrate on the modern team site, the web parts, the set of web parts which are available are completely different. But the no script setting can be actually enabled in a classic team site as well. And that would also mean that this set of web parts would not be available within the classic team site. Good. So quickly kind of reiterating certain key scenarios because we went through quite fast the previous slides as well. So can I use my component branding with modern sites? Yes, you can, but you're limited to use a custom theme for the component branding. So right now, and a logo of the site. So you're able to set the logo for the group and you're able to set a custom theme, but you cannot use custom master pages or alternative layouts, which could be a big limitation, or it might not be a big limitation. Once again, it depends on your business requirements and what are you planning to use that site for. What about, can I associate a custom script somehow on a modern team site? And the answer is no. This is not supported currently. The only thing what you can do is that you are able to use a client-side web parts on the modern team sites, or add-ins as well. So the classic add-ins and client-side web parts, or add-in parts, whatever we want to call them, or app parts. So many terms, it doesn't matter. Classic things where we have an iframe, those are supported within the modern sites as well. But you cannot associate a custom JavaScript using, let's say, the classic user custom action scenario to these modern sites.
All right. Related to this one, Vesa, you talked about custom JavaScript. But actually, the same also applies towards custom CSS. So yes. A web has an alternate CSS URL property where you can hook up a custom CSS file, which is, for example, used to make a site more responsive. That approach also doesn't work in the modern sites, correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct on that. So that setting, you can technically add that setting on the web object, but it will be ignored for the modern side. So you cannot associate a custom CSS using that kind of a way. The only really supported branding option right now is the custom theme, which you can apply on the site. Which is a good scenario to actually quickly have a look on. So how do we apply a custom theme to a modern theme site? And so how do we make the modern theme site to use a company-specific branding? So let's have a look on this one and come back on the slides after that. So let's have a look on how we can customize this newly created modern theme site. So we're going to use this awesome group which was created previously. It has the logo and everything else properly on the site as well. So you're able to have a custom logo for a site, for the modern theme site. And like we covered in the slides, the branding options for the modern theme sites are slightly limited. Right now, the only really supported option is to apply a custom theme. There will be additional capabilities in the future, but they're not yet announced, or we don't have an exact schedule and details around them to be shared right now. So a custom theme. One thing to be aware on the custom theme side is that if we actually go to the site settings, if I first go to the site contents, and then I go to the site settings of the site, you actually notice that we don't have a link to the theme gallery, so the composed look gallery or theme gallery in the site settings. And that's because this is a no-script site. So whenever the site has a no-script editing enabled, you cannot actually add additional theme options to the gallery itself. But that does not, however, means that we would not be able to apply a custom theme, because we can still do that programmatically and it's fully supported to do so. So let's actually make that happen. Probably the first question quickly going through is that, okay, so how do I create my custom theme? So I can create my custom themes using this awesome tool which was released back in 2013 or something, numerous years ago, which is called the SharePoint Color Palette Tool version 1.00. No idea why there's 2 zeros actually on the version. And this is a free tool which is available from a SharePoint, from a Microsoft download site. So if you search for it, you'll find it. You can install that, and you can use it to create a color file, an SP color file. The UI itself is still showing a classic site, but the SP color file itself is absolutely usable within the modern theme sites as well. Now, in my case, I've actually created the SP color file in the past already, so I'm going to actually just use that one, which have been already created and waiting within my folder of the demos. So I can see the SP color file here, and here's my background image, which I'm going to apply to the site. So let's make that then happen. So I'm going to switch to a PowerShell site, and in my PowerShell, probably first checking that I'm in the right folder, which is good, and then I'm going to scroll down here. We're going to connect to that particular site, so let's actually execute that one. And we are in the Office Dev BMP tenant on Microsoft.com, so I'm going to sign in on this one. And after signing in using the BMP PowerShell to connect BMP Online commandlet, I can double check and do operations against the site using the BMP PowerShell commandlet. So this could be useful. This could be familiar for you. If not, please have a look on what is a BMP PowerShell, because this is an awesome way of manipulating SharePoint Online or on-premises sites using them scripting. All of these operations are also available using managed code using the BMP site's core component, which is released as a NuGet package. So with a single commandlet, you can upload file, or single method, you can upload a file, a single method, you can apply a theme, and so on. Now, in my case, what I want to do is that I'm actually going to upload my SP color file and my background color to the site assets folder. So I'm going to use the @bmp file commandlet. So let's execute these two fellows and upload those files available within the site. So they are now in the site asset folder within the site. And we can quickly have a look on that one. So if we go to the site contents, and then have a look on the site assets, we can see the files available in here. One thing to be aware on the location of these files, because this is a no-script site, you cannot just create a random folder and upload the files in a random location. So they have to be available from a known location where we're able to upload them in. Again, one of the limitations in the no-script sites themselves, and the modern list is a no-script site as well. Good. Let's go back on the PowerShell side. Then I want to do is that I'm actually building the right URLs, which we're going to use for applying the theme to the site. And then we kind of use a CSOM apply theme operation. This is actually out-of-the-box client-side object model method, not BMP extension. And for that one, we're saying, hey, use that color palette and that background and create the theme and apply that to the site itself. Now, execution of this one does take quite a long time, especially within the modern theme side. There is and we're looking into that one, how to make that one faster. And in this case, I'm also adding the request timeout just in case for Infinited. So the request timeout is based on the server-side timeout after this one. But since it takes a while, I'm going to execute this one, but we'll kind of pause the video until the execution is fully completed. So let's execute that one. It starts executing those operations, and let's pause the video for this one, and we'll come back in a second to have a look on the site, which has then the custom branding applied. So now we executed the commandlets, and this is one thing what actually might happen to you for the time being. This is one of the things what we're working on as well. So when you're applying a custom theme to a modern theme site, this actually takes quite a long time, like mentioned before we started executing this one. That's why we set the request timeout to infinity. Unfortunately, what happened in this case, and it slightly depends on the load of the server, the operation actually timed out on the server side. And that doesn't mean that the command or the customization was not applied. It means that the connectivity between the client-side object model and the server was disconnected by the server-side connection. But the execution of the theme actually is still applied. So the execution of the custom theme to the site most likely was fully successful. So let's actually have a look on the site itself. And if we go to the site and do a refresh on the site, we can actually see the custom theme now applied on the background. And it's pretty dim in this case. You can probably see the guy on the background standing, like in the background image, which we set for the site. And you can also see that the color set has been set to blue. And the custom theme also is followed on anywhere within the site. So this is getting the site to be consistent, and there's some level of a branding. It really depends on what kind of theme you are applying. In this case, it's pretty white and not as super visible from a site perspective. So if I go to the document side, in the same way, we have the consistent branding from a theming perspective applied in here as well. But that's it from a custom theme applyment perspective. And like mentioned, we're working on getting these things faster. We're working on addressing, for example, that possible timeout issue related on themes. And all of those, all of the guidance will be absolutely updated on the MSDN related on this one as well. But let's move back on the slides and continue the webcast on the presentation side.
What about customizing modern lists and libraries? So SharePoint Modern Experiences also apply to our favorite document libraries and SharePoint lists. And there are a lot of things which are possible, but also things which are not possible. So what's the status, for example, around branding? For branding, good to know is that modern lists and libraries really do support your custom themes, or whether you use out-of-the-box themes, that's also fine. So the themes will nicely blend into the UI, and you will see your colors and your logo being respected. So great. Now, like with all the other modern experiences, when it comes towards using custom master pages or using custom page layout, that's not possible today. Things will improve over time, but today that's a no-go. The same applies for JS-Link-based field and view rendering. It will improve in the future, but the current JS-Link approach as it is today, which applies to classic libraries, is not supported for modern list and libraries. And the same applies actually also to custom CSS. So if you would like to hook up a custom CSS to your site, and have that custom CSS have a certain impact on your list or library, that's not possible anymore because you simply cannot use custom CSS on these pages anymore.
Maybe one point on the JS link thingy. There is an option for the lists, isn't it, Bert, that you're able to say that, hey, auto-detect. And if the list has the JS link currently set, it will actually fall back on the classic rendering.
Yes, absolutely. This is a good point. So with the modern list and library experience, we defaulted to turn it on because we think there's a lot of value for most users to start using modern list and libraries. But we also added mechanisms in there to automatically switch back to the classic experience if we detect certain customizations that you did and that are not yet available in the modern experience. And JS Link rendering is one of those experiences, Vesa. So if we detect JS Link field-based rendering, we will switch back to classic mode, unless the user really says, like, I want to use it in modern. So there's still some variation in the scenario, but essentially we try to give you the best user experience possible, taking into account your customizations.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. One of the most commonly used customizations for lists and libraries is actually adding custom entries in the edit control block menu. So when you click on the 3 dots on a document, you get a pop-up menu giving you some options to work with the document. You can extend that menu with your own entries, or in the past you could also add custom ribbons, custom ribbon groups, buttons and ribbons, etc. Now, the good thing is both these options are still available. So when you target your user custom actions for the edit control block location, which essentially is the location saying, like, I want this option to show up in the pop-up menu when I right-click a document, when I click on a document, that's there, and you can also get your buttons showing up, your ribbon buttons showing up in the toolbar. I think the screenshot is really clarifying this really well. So the download all button at the left side here, that one is a regular button that was added into an existing ribbon group. So suppose you have one button showing up in an existing ribbon, it will go over here and be a button in the toolbar. If you ever had a custom tab for your application, that custom tab is translated to a drop-down menu. So the ribbon name, custom ribbon, custom tab, is then the drop-down button name, and then the individual buttons in your custom ribbon show up as entries in this drop-down menu.
We didn't actually
images.
Yeah, sorry on that one. We didn't actually explicitly say this, but it obviously means that ribbon itself is gone from the modern list and libraries, and that's why there is this conversion, right?
Yes, and this is a fair ask and fair point, and it's kind of a little bit confusing today because you have to target command UI.ribbon to get something in the toolbar. So, but that's kind of just to support the both experiences. So the same custom action can work for your classic experience as it can work for the modern experience. Yeah. And that's why the name ribbon will still be there, but in the modern experience, ribbon isn't there anymore. We call it the toolbar now. Yeah.
Which is probably a good thing as well. It's a slight discussion, but ribbon, I think we got a lot of feedback on the ribbon that in some sense it was a great capability, but then again it was super complex. So one of the things with the modern experiences is to make things more simpler from an end user perspective. So now things are no doubt simpler from an end user perspective because we don't have a ribbon with multiple tabs and buttons and all of that stuff in the top of the page.
Absolutely. Now, when we watched what feedback from the field, we've seen several comments from people trying to add custom elements in the toolbar, for example, and having issues with it. And the reason for that is that there are certain limitations around user custom actions that you need to be aware of. There are not that many limitations, and they're not overly complex, but just a few things which might bite you if you don't know them. So one of the topics that is important here is the ordering. So we've got complaints from people saying like, oh, my order is kind of switching. Like the menu entries or the buttons in the toolbar, they are not appearing in the order that I want them to appear. And today, that's indeed the current situation. We're looking into improving that one, but the actual order of the user custom actions is not respected. Reason is because we our implementation is client-side calling the API. Give me all the user custom actions of this particular list, and it will apply them in the order it gets them from the API. The API is not respecting the sequence attribute that you can specify for your custom action, hence the order might switch sometimes. Now, there's also a little bit good side here is that if you have a custom tab, like I showed in a screenshot in a previous slide, you can really control the order of the buttons in that custom tab. So if you really want to order the buttons, you can do it with the custom tab approach and then control how the buttons are appearing. Another one that might bite you is the no JavaScript embedding. I think already mentioned a few times in this webcast. Embedding JavaScript in the classic approach, like we've been doing in the past, is not possible in modern experiences. And this also applies to hooking up a user custom action to a modern list or library. Essentially, if you would kind of, in your command action, instead of a basic URL pointing to for example, your provider host application, you would put some JavaScript. The result of this will be that it will simply not show anymore. It's gone. So you can't do this. The same for the very popular script-linked script block properties, which we used to embed JavaScript on all pages of a site. That's not possible because you cannot use the script link as location anymore. So again, it won't work, won't render. A third little thing to be aware of is, I think this is will not hit most people, but there are people using custom actions, and in the registration ID property, they specify a particular library ID. So if you really want to target your custom action to one particular library, you could do this in the past in the classic mode. However, in the modern experience today, that's not possible. So you can't target a specific library ID, nor can you target a specific content type ID. So if you have your custom content type, it will only show up the entries for your custom content type. That's not possible today. But however does work is just regular template types, like 100 for a list or 101 for a document library, which is used also in the demos later on. And a little small one, I'm not sure if this will hit many people, but we noticed this during our testing work, is that if you use an image map, so SharePoint has those nice image maps, so this format map 16 by 16 PNG file, for example. This file contains hundreds of images, and you can pick the right one by specifying the coordinates. That approach also doesn't work. You really have to point the custom action to one particular image for you. But all in all, these are some limitations that you can work around, I think. And if you do that, you do have a fairly good support for adding custom toolbar buttons, custom menu entries in your custom list and library experience. Can you associate a custom JavaScript to render with modern list and libraries? Unfortunately, today it is not supported, so no way to have a user custom action calling custom JavaScript. No way to use JS-link on a view or on a field to run your custom JavaScript. Not today, not there today, but we're looking into the future to get support for a kind of a governed way to embed JavaScript on your pages and also on your list and libraries at that point.
And one thing maybe to mention on this one, kind of one of the, let's say, classic scenarios for embedding a JavaScript on the list and library level or in the site level has been that, hey, I want to have a global navigation, I want to have a global header or footer, or I want to make sure that certain links are visible across like all of the list and libraries and any page in the SharePoint. And that's, like Bert mentioned, we're looking into having that kind of a support, but not using this classic mode. So it's part of the roadmap and thinking for the branding and the future things and configuration things for their sites. But it won't be based on the user custom action and a custom JavaScript on the page itself. The scenarios, what you usually did with the custom action, custom JavaScript, will be we're looking into enabling those scenarios, but using more, in quotes, railed experiences. So the the scenario, the functionality can be enabled, but it's in some way controlled way of doing that, and a more safer way to do that, because in SharePoint Online we are releasing new versions really often. So we need to have a safer way for people to enable their typical business scenarios, rather than just rely on a JavaScript and a DOM structure within a page.
Absolutely. So if you need this particular feature today, just it's good to know that it is something coming in the future. And we understand this is a kind of a key scenario for many people, so it's being worked on.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the theory. Let's do a little demo. So in the demo, we're going to show you how to use the PnP PowerShell to apply a custom PnP provisioning template, which will then generate for you custom toolbar buttons and a custom entries in the edit control block menu of a document. In this demo, we're going to show you how you can customize the modern experience for documents and libraries. So what we've done is we've created a regular theme site. So this is an STS-based site. The same concept will also apply if you would create a modern theme site, like shown in previous demos. Now, let's go to our documents library, the default documents library. And what you will see is the modern experience, really nice and shiny experience, responsive, fluent, great experience, with the default toolbar buttons and the default document pop-up buttons, and the edit control block links that we talked about previously. Right, so this is default experience. Now, let's add additional capabilities to this modern document library. So we want to add additional toolbar buttons and additional elements in this pop-up menu. To do so, I'm going to use PowerShell, so PnP PowerShell, to connect to the site and then apply a PnP provisioning XML file. So these statements will connect us to the site. So let's execute them first. And my passwords, here we go. We're connected, good. Now before applying the template, I want to quickly show you the template. So this first template is adding actually a custom action to the edit control block location. So this is one of the supported locations that you can use to add custom actions to the model and list and library experience. And it will essentially add a custom action in the, if you select document, click on the little dots, that pop-up menu, that's the one being targeted with this edit control block. So we'll add a custom action over there. The registration type is list and ID is 101. So be aware that you are limited in using the registration IDs, like being regular template IDs. So 101 for document library, 100 for a plain list. Then there is a title attribute and a sequence attribute. Sequence attributes are not respected, so you can have them in your XML, but they're not really used. And then there's actually the URL, so the action that you want to do when you click on that particular menu item. The other one, modern toolbar entries XML, that we're going to apply, is slightly more complex because it essentially contains a custom ribbon tab, which is transformed into a drop-down menu in our new toolbar. So we're adding a download all button over here, this guy, and then we're adding a custom ribbon, the name custom tab over here, and that custom ribbon has two custom groups, which each have buttons. So custom group 2 has one button and custom group 1 has two buttons. Notice the order. So I have custom group 2 first and then custom group 1, which means custom button 3 is first and then I have custom button 1. So, and in this case, this order will be respected. So you will see the buttons appearing in this order: custom button 3, then custom button 1, then custom button 2.
So Bert, on that one, so the sequence for that one the group sequence doesn't matter for that one, right?
Correct. So the group sequence is not respected, but
even for that
actually,
one, it's around the on which order.
Yeah. So we only look at the buttons. So the groups themselves are not shown in the UI. They kind of disappear. But what we do is we parse this command UI definition XML block, and we take the buttons in the order we will see them in the XML.
Yeah.
And all the rest is kind of ignored. Okay, so this gives you a view on how to do this, and the MSN article contains this XML and also contains instructions on how to change this particular PnP provisioning XML to apply it to a list. So in demo, we're going to apply it to a document library, but of course the same can be applied to a regular list. All right, back to our PowerShell session. So now I'm going to just run those two guys. So I'm going to apply two templates in one shot. I'm going to press F8, and our PnP PowerShell is applying these templates. For the demo, we chose to use PnP PowerShell, but obviously you can also use just regular C# code and use our PnP extension methods to do the same thing. This went really quick, so templates are applied. Let's flip back to the site. I'm going to press Ctrl R to refresh the page. And what we'll see is, first of all, we'll see this custom tab and download all button. So these are the elements we specified showing up. And if we select the document, our SharePoint PnP Rocks document, and hit the dots over here, we see our new custom actions popping up as well. I should have maybe used more compelling titles for these guys, but yeah.
But it's more, it's visible. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that this kind of summarizes the options for you to embed custom actions in a modern list and library experience. So we can use the toolbar, and we can target this edit control block menu. All other custom actions are not supported. Now, another option we have around customizing is applying a custom theme. I'm not going to show it in this demo, but in the previous demo that Vesa showed, he also showed the document library where you kind of saw the background theme that he applied showing up in the document library experience, so that will be there as well.
And the themes are always applied. So the themes are applied on a site level, so they're not about a list-specific setting.
But they blend in nicely in the modern list and library experience.
They do.
So we respect those custom themes. And
by the way,
more experiences will be coming in the future as well. So we will
just a quick notice. I started looking at our toolbar, and then it's like, okay, where did they go? But they obviously went away because you selected the document. So there's a change around what are we actually showing from a contextual perspective. Now they're back again.
Well, they are here actually.
They're visible, but we show some additional buttons on the toolbar.
It depends. Yes. So we show a fixed number of. We take a fixed number of pixels to show buttons, and if it's too big, it overflows to this menu, and then you see them popping up over here.
Yeah.
But the custom tab always stays grouped together. So if order is important for you, use a custom tab, and then you can define the order inside here. And so that's kind of a workaround if you kind of are not happy with the ordering, because now you see like custom tab download all. It could be different next time. So that's why if you really want to have consistent ordering, use the custom tab approach, then you can control the order. All right, I think that sums up this short demo. Back to the slides.
Sounds good. Good. So let's talk about also the scenario which is really commonly asked. So what about how do I convert my classic sites to the modern experience? Can I do that, and what's actually supported? So for time being, there's no supported mechanism for associating an existing classic site collection to an Office 365 group. And this is really the key, let's say, a limitation for the time being. This is in the roadmap, but the exact plan and schedule are yet to be confirmed. So we don't have exact timeline or which we could share right now within the webcast. But from an end user perspective, you can actually enable the modern experiences within a classic site as well. So if you're not interested about the Office 365 group side of the modern site, you can enable the modern experiences within a classic site as well. And essentially what you do is that you create a modern page on in quotes, a classic site. You associate that modern page to be a welcome page on the classic site using an API. So that's an API level operation, because that's not exposed within the UI. And then you configure the site to use the modern list and libraries. At this point, that site looks like a modern site, even though it's not associated for the time being to any existing Office 365 group. So from an end user perspective, it looks like exactly the same as the modern theme site. Maybe the web parts, or well, even the web parts, you can actually make them work. But the default settings are slightly different. One thing to be aware on this one, though, is that because of the modern page has a one canvas, maybe if you have a classic page, you might have multiple layouts and different functionalities on the page. You would have to obviously change your layout and think again, what do you want to have on that welcome page? There won't be any automatic, let's say, transition or migration between those, because I think we cannot implement such an artificial intelligence which would do that in the right way. And maybe one additional thing to be aware, to create a modern page in a classic site, we covered that in the webcast already. We do not have an API to do that for the time being. So you would have to do that manually for the time being again.
Right. Nor do we, we also don't have an API to actually kind of rearrange the web parts on your newly created page, if they will be there.
Yes.
So we miss a couple of key APIs, I think, to really do this on a structural basis across all your sites.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Once these APIs become available, I think the scenario might become more feasible. Today it's just more on a one-off basis. You could do it, but it requires some effort.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Good. But I think that's it for this particular webcast. In the MSDN documents, you'll find additional, let's say, considerations and settings around, hey, how do I control the modern experience in a site collection, or in a tenant level, or in a site and slash in a list level as well. We didn't go them through in this webcast because this is way too long webcast already. So we didn't want to extend the time of the webcast either. But hopefully, you were able to get a high-level understanding what's the current status of these customization options within the modern experiences. And like mentioned so many times already, this is an evolving space. So there will be additional APIs, additional capabilities, additional support gradually as we move forward for introducing the modern experiences to SharePoint Online. And eventually also to on-premises for SharePoint 2016, because some of this stuff will be landing on the SharePoint 2016 at some point as well. Any last words from your side, Bert?
Well, I would say really embrace the modern experiences. We showed you today that you can customize them. There are some limitations. There's a clear roadmap which will improve that story. And for your end users, they just generate so much value and they're kind of a joy to use. So really start embracing them.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of benefits out of using the modern experiences, a lot of new capabilities which are available, which are not available in the classic side. So please do evaluate them and start using them when it's suitable for you, no doubt. But I think that's it. Thank you, Bert, for joining me, and we'll come up with a new webcast sooner or later.